Our live team coverage of the weather continues in another flood-prone spot. We're talking about Norfolk, especially The Hague and Ghent. That is where we find 10 on your side's Nick Broadway, who's been watching the rising water all morning long. Nick, how's it looking now? Gone down, gone up?
It's gone down, Aisha, considerably since this morning. Where I'm standing right now, this sidewalk was underwater just a few hours ago. And for those who live nearby and drive through The Hague every day, they understand that this is a commonplace for overland flooding when the tide comes up. With high tide at around 8 a.m. this morning, the worst is definitely behind us, but it did create for a nuisance of a morning commute.
It was patchy throughout downtown Norfolk. Our cameras saw several drivers along Bush Street. Some did not take the risk, others went for it. For a few drivers, the risk was not worth it, stalling out in the middle of these salty, flooded roads.
It gets flooded really bad, and you'd think there'd be more drainage, but there's not.
Near The Hague, tidal flooding is routine, but the people who live here are getting sick of it.
I really think the nuisance flooding is getting worse, and if you're not somebody that knows the tide tables, and then this street, we don't have a stop sign, and we don't have any signs down there that say street floods, so we often have a lot of cars getting hit when people try to back up.
The Hague School was a waterfront property today, with ducks swimming above the sidewalk. They deal with this many times a year, but the head of school says it seldom gets this high.
The flooding's not atypical, but for it to come up this high and that close to Brambleton Avenue is unusual.
Neighbors hope the city can do more to keep the forces of Mother Nature at bay, advocating for higher homes and higher roadways.
I mean, Norfolk is a beautiful city, and Ghent is a beautiful historic district, and it is a shame that we're crumbling.
And as authorities here frequently say, if you do come across a flooded road on your commute or wherever it is you're driving, just don't take the chance, turn around, find a different route. Nick Broadway, 10 on your side.
This is just one example of the tidal flooding we're seeing across Hampton Roads today. I'm here at the Lynnhaven Inlet. I'm right next to the back deck, and just look, I'm not even in the thick of the flooding, and the water is past my feet. And if you look right here, this is supposed to be a deck, completely covered by this flooding, just some of what we're seeing today. We had some wet weather conditions across Hampton Roads today. There was rain, winds, and tidal flooding in the area. The Lynnhaven Inlet experiencing a good amount of that flooding right next to the Shellfish Company. We spoke to a worker as he opened up shop who says he's not surprised to see the rising water.
This time of year, it's always like that. So it doesn't really matter to me. I don't mind it at all.
But even though he's used to it, he says they still take safety precautions when the weather gets like this.
We don't turn on the gas pumps. That way there's no explosion.
Other Virginia Beach residents share his laid-back attitude towards flooding in the area. One man who declined to show his face or reveal his name sent me this picture of flooding in that same parking lot from around the 2010s. The image showing the water a lot higher than it was today. He tells me that was when a hurricane swept through the area.
When I showed you that picture, that was a northeaster also. So, I mean, we have had hurricanes over the years, but it's been mostly northeasters do most of the damage.
But even though residents may be used to this weather, it's still very important to know what to do to stay safe. Drive slow on slick roads, leave enough room between you and the car in front, and never drive through floods. So again, just make sure you're not speeding on these slick roads. You're leaving enough distance between you and the driver in front of you, and please, please, please do not drive through flood waters. Make sure you're all staying safe out there. In Virginia Beach, Raven Payne, 10 on your side.